so much. And you've been doing this for a long time. How many years?
23.
23 years. So tell me a little bit about, what trends you're seeing in Orange County. Who is getting help and what are they getting help for?
The trends I am seeing is um, we are seeing a lot of persons coming in with substance use disorder issues as well as mental health issues. And some of those do have both at the same time. Um, Generalized statistic nationally is about 75% of all addicts have a mental health issue, diagnosed or not.
And you mentioned it could be as simple as depression, like unhappiness with your weight.
Generalized anxiety disorder, depression, um, agoraphobia, which, they don't want to come out of the house a lot of times. And some of these, a lot of these individuals had the mental health issue prior to their addiction, and the addiction, of course, has exasperated it.
And I've been speaking with a lot of people about what they're seeing in Orange County, and one of the things that the Assistant District Attorney Crispin Walker said to me that really stuck out is she said about 70 to 80% of just her caseload is methamphetamine related in some type of capacity. Does
Yeah.
that statistic shock you?
No,
Why not?
because we've been seeing the trend in not only our facilities. This is Spindletop as a whole. We have three major facilities. We have our Beaumont site, we have one in Port Arthur, and we have one here. And I supervise all three of the substance abuse units. And I don't, here in Orange County, the increase of methamphetamine is exponential over the last 5, 10 years. We started seeing more and more cases of it probably around 2008, 2009. If, we had some before that, but you would, a lot of times it was from Hardin County, north of here, and, it just takes over communities very quickly. Methamphetamine is very cheap to make, and so that, of course, adds on to its availability. I mean, you look, you hear the news articles, you read the newspapers. Some people have this, their own personal scanners. You hear about the arrest all the time. I know right here in Orange County, I think I've overheard, 4 or 5 major busts just in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And most of them, we're talking massive amounts of, we're not talking, micrograms of methamphetamine. We're talking major, grams and or quarter ounces of this stuff. And it's sad, but it's a truth we need to deal with. And I'm very fortunate. I work for a company that's very proactive, and and we want to meet people where they're at. You know, um, Texas is very good about had started up numerous years ago about meeting the potential client where they're at. There's no wrong door. A person can come here, see me or one of my staff, and be screened and assessed. And if they need, if our outpatient is appropriate for their level of care, then of course we're going to help get them the services they need. And sometimes that may mean a referral next door for any possible mental health issues as well, or medical, because we do have primary care as well at Spindletop, and a lot of facilities don't do that. We're very fortunate we have the ability to provide that.
So at Spindletop, it's really about treating the whole person,
Correct.
not just the addiction.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the parts.
Yep. And something, I've heard from a DE agent, they said, they walked me through kind of the history of meth. Like it used to be, okay, trailer backwoods, right? And then after that, it became kind of the mobile meth labs. People were making it in their cars. After that, came to suburbia, people making it at their homes and their neighborhoods and their microwaves. And now what the DE agent has said to me is that they're seeing it mass produced in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're hearing? And maybe how does I-10 kind of
Well,
facilitate
that is true. There's a lot of drugs, one of which, of course, is methamphetamine. Of course, we still have the opiate heroin that still comes across the border a lot. And yes, it's going to come right through Orange, Texas because of Interstate 10. Now, I know our sheriff's department and the DEA agents, I mean, I see them all the time, parked on the highway, trying to make our community safer, you know. Um, Beaumont is not out of the picture for that as well. I know Beaumont has a high rate of arrest for the same type of drugs. One thing about methamphetamine, it's water soluble. You can have it in a liquid form, you can have it in a powder form. You can even have it in a gaseous state at one point. So it's very transportable.
and very cheap, like you said.
It, and overall cost of making it is cheap. Unfortunately, there's some people that try to get into making their own, and that's where you start having a lot of problems and uh,
We can have
explosions because it's
fires,
flammable
explosions,
at one
yeah.
point.
So, when you're speaking with folks who are in particularly addicted to methamphetamine, what stories emerge about, how old they were when they were introduced to the drug? Is there any narratives that come to mind? Is there any like common denominator?
Um, Addictive patterns of behavior. A lot of people, it's usually, teenage years, early 20s. Usually it's socially based when they first try it or experiment with any type of chemical substance.
That's important for parents who hear this story. Those teenage years, really important for parents to be involved.
And, I being a parent of 4 children and I have 13 grandkids, it's about talking to your children and start talking to them at a young age. Don't wait till they're in 8th or 9th grade. You need to have that conversation more when they're 4th, 5th grade. Because they will be approached.
Tell me a little bit about, if you had to ballpark it, how many folks do you think you or maybe the facility in general are treating for methamphetamine? How do you think it would rank compared to any other drug?
Uh, probably at least 20-30%.
At least 20 to 30%.
I mean, coming off the top of my head, I could pull it up, but I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, no problem. And
Of course, I want you to understand, statistics aren't linear. They're going to change with time.
yep, exactly.
Have we seen more and more methamphetamine admissions over the last 10 years? Yes. Extremely high increase in the last 5 to 6, probably.
What is the best course of treatment?
Depends on what's going on with the client. Okay? There's some people that could simply start, once they've admitted they have the issue, which is the hardest part for a lot of people, because of pride, feeling, they don't want to feel like a failure to their family, their coworkers, getting them to understand there's help available out there for them. It doesn't matter where they came from, what neighborhood they grew up in, there's help for everybody. And we are fortunate, we do have several treatment facilities, including Spindletop and Golden Triangle. Now, we provide outpatient services. Okay, not everyone is going to be appropriate for outpatient. Some people may need more intensive structure, so there is residential services available.
And that would be like inpatient or residential is the best way to phrase it.
Residential, in which they would not need medical attention, and so they would basically live there for 30 plus days or more, depending on their need, of course. And then they could transition to an outpatient closer to where they live or where they're going to plan on residing when they get out. Some persons, depending on their drug of choice or what they've been using as of late, may require detox of some form. Now, that's the issue that is hard for all the counselors, such as myself, in this area because we do not have an adequate detox.
No adequate detox?
No.
What do you mean by that?
There is a detox available, but you also have to have a mental health issue. Unless you present an emergency in a life-threatening situation, and then of course the hospital's going to admit you and make sure to, assist that need.
So is this a problem to Southeast Texas, like our community, or are you seeing this across the state, no adequate detox available? Is it because we're a small area?
It's this area. Unfortunately, a lot of persons will say that need alcohol detox. They are. They may have to be taken to Houston.
So that makes combating addiction real challenging from
Yes,
step one.
yes, it can be.
Um,
But not, like I said, not everybody's going to need detox, but the need for detox in our area is extreme. There is enough need for it in our area, I think, that one could substantially survive if one got put in here.